designing content that is relevant for students, and working with changing mindsets. She's got a 15-year-old who she adores and a husband who's a celebrated cricketer who is a partner in crime in the new initiative with sports. Recently, Ms Fatema was also recognized as one of the top 50 Indian leaders who can revive education by the prestigious Education World. She's all about creating disruptions and futuristic ideas. I feel as if I have simply just told everybody the attributes of growth mindset. You are an epitome for representing what growth mindset is all about, ma'am. It's a pleasure to have you. The Aadharshila Talks are meant for speakers like you who bring in that futuristic vision to all the educators. Personally, I can say there is a lot more to speak other than ma'am's professional aspects of her personality and introduction. She's a wonderful, cheerful, happy person. She is very passionate about bringing a sense of education, the real education amongst the educators. It's a pleasure once again. Today's topic is about project-based learning. It goes in sync with the wonderful vision presented by the new National Education Policy 2020. And it becomes imperative for all the educators to understand how project-based learning contributes to the real world. And once the child is out of the school, how the life is all about projects. If you understood what I mean by life is all about projects, could some of you please write in that text box? For example, my daughter, who is now in 12th grade, there is one project right ahead of her and for us as family. What project? Or if I tell you what project that is for me, you have to tell me what are the other projects in life that we deal with. Let me say project admission is right in front of her at the moment. Okay. What happens after this project admission and when the child is done with all education, all the studies, yeah, whole life. But could you just tell me what are the main projects that happen over a period of time that need a lot of planning and stepwise analysis of where we are going, how we are going? Project job search, amazing. That's correct, Ms. Rainey. Project job, yes. Then project marriage, project children, project growth in professional world, etc., etc. So project house, project some other property, or there are various projects that people have. Project community service. So whatever is the purpose of life one sees, they have to take projects. If I can say, I can relate it to projects. So that is an understanding which is to be developed right from the formative years of children. Thank you, everyone, for your answers. Thank you, Ms. Manju Mehta ji. I now request Ms. Fatema ji to take it ahead. Over to you, ma'am. Once again, thank you for being an Aadharshila.
Thank you so much, Jaya. I have to say, you're just not an articulate speaker. You're just someone who welcomes everyone in your fold, and it's my pleasure to be a part of your world. Like I said, I love the vision. It's about sharing. And I know I've pushed you in the last 2 weeks saying, Jaya, why are we doing this? I'm not happy with this platform. Can we do Zoom? I love your spontaneity, and I think you hit the nail on the head. It's about growth mindset. It's about accepting, embracing. So the topic for this afternoon is not an easy one. It's not a topic that has come about because now, we are 21st century educators and now we have to do this. It's a topic that has been there forever. And I'm going to say thanks to the marketing head to play my partner in crime while I walk you through, what I've put together, 18 slides to capture a topic that's very, very important.
Right.
When I say 21st century edu focus, it's actually 22nd century. 21st century is gone. We have to embrace the future. So when we talk about project-based learning, it is going to be about that. But before I deep dive into this topic, here's something everyone's going to do for me. Those of you who have a pen and paper, quickly raise your hands or put in the chat box a thumbs up. If you don't, it's okay. You still have your mind.
And the chat box, are they allowed
Please
to write in the
go
chat
ahead.
box?
Just go ahead and say, yes, I have a pen and paper. Even if you don't, you still have your mind. And you can register this. So this is what I want you to do, reflect. Before even I begin the topic. 8 months in lockdown. A lot of you are semi-mobile at the moment. A lot of us are still in lockdown because our buildings do not allow people, we're not allowed to go out. Can you tell me that one problem that you faced in the last 8 months? You only have to write it for yourself. No one's going to check it. I'm not going to ask you to share this. But I want you to write this down. One problem that you faced, and if you could, in the next column, write, did you overcome it? Are you still facing it? This is yours. This I am not checking. There's no right or wrong answer. I'm simply asking you to list down a problem. Okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to give you 30 seconds and then I'm going to quickly ask you the next question. Whoever is online, can you let me know if you are from a national school or an international school?
We are a Cambridge International School. Ma'am, it's a Cambridge International School.
But your previous experience, were you experienced with national, international boards?
Personally, no, I didn't study or teach in an international school. Am I audible to you, ma'am?
Yes. Thank you, Jaya. You know, the reason why I asked you the question is the topic that I'm going to talk about, project-based learning, has a very simple focus. It's all about solving a problem. You know, I'm passionate about research. When I actually deep dived into this topic, and I'm going to say this was 2 years ago, there are over 1 million pages written about project-based learning. From all that research, the one thing that I got was very simple. It's all about a problem. So think about your last 8 months. You faced a problem. We all did. Was the problem restricted to national or international schools? Rich or poor, we all face the same problem. The topic for this afternoon, and I hope you have your coffee with you, is about project-based learning. It is not complicated. It is simple. It is about solving a problem. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So I often get very confused when I go into a workshop because I never understand what people are trying to tell me. I need to know what is it that I can take away from the session, and I'm going to address this as third person. Fatima, why am I listening to you today? You're listening to me because I'm going to give you a rationale for PBL. I'm going to sum it up because there's so much literature out there. I'm going to give you tips that you know how to process that. So whether it's elements or essentials that you need to know, and I'm going to give you examples because I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm going to give you stuff that you can go tomorrow and implement in your school. Thank you. Next slide. Can you play this video, please? And you'll bear with me for 2 minutes. This is a United World Nation video. I get goosebumps every time I see it because this is our world today.
I think there is some problem playing this
Okay, don't
video.
okay, don't worry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually push this out to Jaya, who can then share it with all the participants. This is a United World Nations video
Yes.
that talks about a world that's volatile. This video was played in 2019. I wish we had played it.
Yes. Will surely send if you are not able to play it here. I understand which video you're talking about, ma'am. We'll share it with the participants. I'm sorry that we are not able to play it here. Amit sir, would you like to try again?
It's fine. It's fine. Jaya, you can play it. You can push this out, but I think it's important because the context of what I'm talking about, project-based learning, has a rationale. We're doing it for a reason. It's not. It's not a new age theory. It is something that's been there, part of our world, even with the Gurukul system. We have packaged it now to call it project-based learning, but eventually it's about solving a problem. We all as educators, so I hope you view that video. It'll give you a perspective that the world is no longer what you and I were experiencing when we grew up. The world tomorrow is even more drastic. If anyone had told me in January that the world would be in lockdown for 8 months, I have laughed. I actually have laughed about that. I remember landing from South Africa on the 6th of Jan and saying, what rubbish, this is only China's problem. It wasn't China's problem. It was world problem. I think the pandemic has made us realize, if we hadn't already realized it, that the world is no longer in silos. We cannot be cocooned in our own little world, in our own little classroom, in our own little subject areas. The world has changed. You know what? We should have adapted to what PBL, project-based learning, was always talking about. We love our blooms, right? Now, all of you logging in are educators. I know. Even I love my slides. Every time Bloom's taxonomy comes in, I was like, oh, of course I know what it is. This is what the World Economic Forum has put out. Please have a look at the top 10 skills of 2025. Analytical thinking, active learning, complex problem, critical thinking, creativity, leadership. How will you do this? Can your math and science and history and geography and language teach all this? Sorry to say, go back to Bloom's taxonomy. Look at the purple graph. You are getting them to learn facts. The remembering is the photographic memory that you're working with, which is a key skill. Where is understanding? Where is application? Where is analysis? Where is evaluation? Where is creating? I would be very, very disappointed if after 1.3 billion people in this country, India is not able to produce a vaccine. You can't, I'll be very concerned. There's Europe that's fighting for it. There's Germany that's smaller than Mumbai. There's Britain that's smaller than Delhi. There's America for various reasons, larger than us, but today seems to be more progressing when it comes to R&D. Where is this coming from? Next slide, please. You know what? That's why we need to redefine. A lot of you who've listed the problem, and you've told me, of course, you're from Cambridge curriculum, but somewhere your childhood, your background, your learning has been national curriculum, right? Problem today in pandemic wasn't rich or poor. We all face the same thing. You mean to say that the rich has it easier to breathe when they are faced with coronavirus? No, it isn't, right? Like that, PBL, project-based learning, is not related to curriculum. So anyone who tells me, international curriculum can do this easily, no, they can't. Their basis of teaching was always about ownership, creativity, critical thinking, collaboration. By the way, these are your key words, right, for 21st century learning. So project-based learning is not related to national or international curriculum. No one needs to direct you to do this. This needs to, I asked you that question. What was the one problem you faced through the pandemic? That is project-based learning. You basically change your mind to saying, okay, that's my problem. And your problem, by the way, involved science, history, geography, math, financial, everything. Your problem was all encompassing. That is project-based learning. Next slide, please. Hi, next slide, please.
Yes, ma'am. Can you see it?
Okay, no, I can't. All right, yeah, thanks. Right, okay, there are plenty of textbook definitions to this, but anyone who's logged in, can you take a picture of this? Because for someone who loves research, I know how difficult it is to get one answer from someone. It's simple. Project-based learning is not a new theory. It is what our Gurukul system spoke about. It is what was inherently Indian. We worked with what a child understands, how can the child answer questions, how can a child question further, what can we do to build. That was the Gurukul system. So project-based learning is historic. I mean, we are worshipping goddesses in Navratri. I wish we would worship, uh, uh, what educators have spoken about. So you're going to research. You're going to understand what you're asking. Why are we asking the questions? Simply because the world has changed. If you had seen the video that I was going to play out to you, our world was very different. I remember being in grade 10 and I had one computer in my computer lab. And the word that was introduced to me was the World Wide Web. Oh, wow, this is going to be a platform where we're going to be able to pose questions. From then to now, we have Alexa. So there is anything that's repetitive, anything that can be customized is going to be now automated. So then what is this project-based learning? It is the ability to go deeper and deeper and make sure augmented reality, make sure research is a lot more advanced. It's going to be trying to understand and break it down. It's going to be challenging some facts. You know what? I don't know if anyone has questioned this, but I question this. So I'm an MBA in finance and marketing, and when I did my B.Ed, I remember asking my teacher, why do we teach subtraction after addition? So she was like, oh, you don't understand, it's BODMAS. I said, yeah, but with pre-primary children, isn't it easy to take away than give? Think about it. We have to challenge, and that's what we're getting PBL to do. Challenge facts. Just because Maria Montessori said that life skills is important, Jijubai Badeka didn't believe it. It didn't work for him. And I hope you know who he is. He said it doesn't work in that context. Challenge the facts. ultimately, what are we trying to do? Solving a problem. All this learning, all the theories, if it doesn't lead to actually generating solutions, sorry to say, what a waste of time. What a waste of a child's life to be sitting in the classroom and listening to all the facts that can be actually taught by Google. What is the difference? Project-based learning is the difference. Next slide, please. It is not project work. Please, previous slide. Can you go to the previous? It is not project work. Please, anyone who tells me, and I know you are very seasoned educators who've tuned in, you all are very evolved, but often we treat it as project. Project-based learning needs to be changed to problem-based learning. And that is my proposition for the afternoon. Thank you. Next slide. So, what I've done is, how we are as educators, even I love my slides and I love my graphics. I love when people can, distinguish stuff for me, which is what I've done for you. Nothing that I've put together this afternoon, Jaya, is, all my own. My ideas will come in later, but I've actually deep dived and researched important slides that I think will help.
Yes. We can see that, ma'am. We appreciate that.
So, projects and project-based learning, big difference. Project-based learning, remember what I told you, is problem solving. That itself will tell you it's not a project. You know what? I'm an ICSE product. I've done that. I had my history project about wheat plantation or something. Beautifully turned out. My mother helped, my grandmother helped, everyone else helped. It was only reproducing what the text told me. Project-based learning is different. They're not asking you to reproduce, they're asking you to investigate a problem. See, now that's the tricky bit. Because the question that you're asking the children is going to be the difference between a project and project-based learning. Remember, go back to what I asked you when we started off. What is the one problem that you faced in these 9 months? It's as simple as that. That's the difference between project-based learning and a project. Yeah, so you know what? A project is a teacher will tell you what to do, you do it, you reproduce text, it's done. Project-based learning is very, very tough. It is difficult. It requires a teacher to think about every child's ability. It also requires a teacher to proposition something that's exciting for the children. Now that we don't think about. We have a syllabus. We are a CBSE school. We are a Cambridge school. Cambridge also has beautiful, scheme of works. What is going to interest the child? You need to think about that. And maybe the syllabus will give you some indication, but maybe you know your children and those are the pressing points that you need to think about. Next slide, please. So, project-based learning can be scary because I asked you a simple question. What is the one problem you faced? So let's assume that your problem was my maid is not coming home. And now I have to do the work. Right? Simple. That's how simple project-based learning is. That's how simple it is for the teacher. Now, a lot of the teachers say, okay, that's Fatima, that's just rubbish. You know, my management will tell me it doesn't link to the syllabus, all of that. It does. It does. If you think about it, if you think about the problem that I've asked you about, it links to a persuasive essay, it leads to a narrative, it leads to quantitative analysis, it leads to time management, it leads to life skill, it leads to everything. Just that your mindset was so driven by the syllabus that you had that you were thinking, oh, but I have to cover this, this, this. You cover this, this, this with it. So very simply, this, and I urge every educator who's logging in today, David Lead is someone I follow religiously. The beauty with the resources that are pulled out are so good. He simplifies it. Simple thing is project-based learning. Okay, so Fatima, project-based learning would be about solving a problem, right? Of course it is. But what do you know about the problem? How do you get everyone to think about the problem? So the need to know. Let's go to the left side of this slide, the 7 essentials. The need to know. Why is it going to be important? Project-based learning is finally the relevance that the national education policy is talking about. We cannot produce children who are textbook ready. We're going to produce children who are life ready. We're going to have kids who will decide whether Donald Trump or forget that. Well, that was a disastrous debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, but even Kamala Harris, how do you distinguish between these speakers? We don't have that concept in India where we have politicians actually coming in public forum and discussing their political views. This is going to be important. The need to know. That means children need to know. So as educators, you're going to have to invest a little bit time to take you away from that, that static syllabus that you have to talk about real life experiences. And I'm going to say this very honestly. I'm a parenting counselor, and I have a private equity parent, a very, very evolved mother who was going in for a very, very prestigious school interview. She said, what does my child need to know? And I said, essentials, exactly what project-based learning is. Need to know. Did the child deep dive into that information? Did the child think about, is it right or wrong? Okay, very controversial. Jaya, with your liberty, I'm going to say this. I did this research. Shashank passed away, and huge fan. Of course, my husband's a cricketer. He's done Dhoni's movie as well. 60% of the Indian population didn't know Shashank.
Oh, that's I was under a different impression. It seemed as if the only thing India was talking about for the last few months was Sushant.
No, it's what was perceived. So again, a lot of kids deep dived into that to understand, okay, what happened? What is mental health? And I know a lot of 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds have come back and said, people won't understand mental health because in India, it's supposed to be, driven under the carpet. Can you imagine 15 and 16-year-olds doing it? So the need.
Yeah, but I agree. What children are saying is true. India, in a major way, has not been very open. Not a big percentage of population is open to understand what is mental health.
Correct. So the need to know, the driving question, and it is not subject related. It's not about emotions. It's about every subject. It's about math. It's about history. It's about geography. It's allowing my third point, student voice. You know, our generation conformed. We still, I know I do that. I still stand up if there's some senior who enters the room. There's a lot of respect that we bring in with our generation. The youth of today want a rationale. And I think they need to be heard. Because by giving them an explanation that, this is how we did it, this is how it is not fair. And this might be a personal example as well, but I'm going to say this. Quite frankly, with the protests that happened, with the whole reservation quota, students are finally voicing an opinion, which is important. So project-based learning is the ability, therefore, to speak, but speak with culture, speak with science, speak with evidence. If we can train our children to have a rationale and present their point of view, can you imagine how harmonious it would be, as opposed to what we're seeing in our country at the moment? And the next point, 21st century skills, collaboration. Sorry to say, project-based learning cannot work unless we have everyone together. This big debate in Maharashtra about age criteria. 3+, 4+, 2.5+. Now, should they be allowed in schools? Quite frankly, I don't understand that. There is age appropriateness, but also eventually in life, I don't know what parents are thinking of, because in the workplace, I have to report to a boss who's 10 years younger than me, who doesn't have the experience. So collaboration means that I need to work with my boss. I need to appreciate her skill sets. I need to bring in my skill sets. That's what 21st century skills is. Collaboration is not just your age group. It is about working with everyone together. Inquiry and innovation. It is about thinking about a problem. Okay. So, and I'm going to walk you through some of the examples to make it relevant for you, because I know it's overwhelming. When I first deep dived into this topic, I just felt it was another gimmick. It was something that educators pointed out because it looks cool. But I actually see the evidence of why it's working. You know what? If anything you have to distinguish between a project and project-based learning is the fact that the teacher talks less and the teacher helps more. And every child will benefit. More than that, eventually, there's some sort of progress, some sort of benefit to why you're studying. And that, I've always asked that as a kid in my school. Why did I learn what I did? How is that helping me? How is that helping my nation? No one answered that question. Think about that, educators. You are transferring knowledge. Are you furthering learning? That's a big one. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you can sort of click pictures or whatever, I've just put a very simple slide. So there, it's divided, like, this is a pie graph, right? It's divided into 6 parts. So this is the way you'll follow the process, okay? You're going to start off with something that's essential, and I'll explain that to you. So wait. Once you start with the question, you still have to figure out, the overall design. Like, so what are you trying to achieve? Are you answering a question? Are you furthering research? What is your objective? But But big difference between a project and project-based learning is that you will allow a child to decide what they want to do with it. So your goals as project design is basically a child. Time management is critical. You cannot be this PhD who's doing it for 10 years. It has to be time bound. Time bound is the biggest mistake everyone makes with PBL. It is often misled. It's often too slow, too fast. It's not timed well. So time management is critical. But wait, if you started with a hypothesis, now what is your hypothesis? So I'm going to give you my son's hypothesis when he did it with his thesis in grade 5. He has written to the government to say that taxes should be more indirect than direct. That was his hypothesis at the end of the PYP. He was part of the IB school. That's great. I mean, Raj, you may want to say that. How are you going to authenticate it? That is the crucial part of project-based learning. So, while on theory it sounds so cool, we can think about a problem and we'll solve it and all of that. It's not so cool. You will have to get the kid to validate that information with what I call empirical evidence. Give me reason to believe this will work, which is assessing the outcome. And you have to be able to spread the world around, which is finding a wider audience. Next slide, please. So Fatima talks so much, so I thought I'll just give you a gap now and I'll just sum up. PBL, of course, has to be instructional. You cannot attempt to do this immediately. You need to understand how it works, talk less. You're going to coach a little more. It's going to combine subject areas. So all the math teachers, science teachers who've tuned off and logged off my session, please understand it involves you. PBL is not about science. The aim is to find a solution. Deep dive, get in the kids about research. You know what? You make them independent and you create collaboration. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's a snapshot of what some of the schools have done. These are schools in New Zealand. These are schools in America that have sort of collaborated and put together. And I'm going to give you those sites at the end of the presentation so you all can Google, because I know you all can't do this on your own. So have a look at the essential question. PBL's biggest strength is going to be about the essential question. What is it that you're asking the child to think about? What is it that you're asking a child to further his knowledge? What is it that you are trying to solve the problem? You can't achieve everything. Please have a look at all the essential questions. Process, linguistic, outcome, I'm not interested in. For me, the main thing is, what are you asking a child? In this, when you look at the linguistic focus, because I know a lot of English teachers tell me, PBL is all about social studies and, environmental sciences, and it doesn't concern English. I beg to differ. Have a look at what linguistic focus talks about. It's there. It's in your syllabus. I've mapped your curriculum. You can make it interdisciplinary. You can therefore combine forces to do it. Next slide. Right. So of course, Fatima's not going to leave you with, just random thoughts. This is my roadmap for anyone who's listening. One, it's applicable from grade 1 to 8. I'm going to say pre-primary cannot take this on simply because they need to be verbally efficient, think, express in a way. Grade 1 is a great example of where you can. You don't need to do this every unit. Even if you start off with 3 simple days, breakaway sessions, where you dedicate it to PBL. You know what? It's linked to your syllabus. And it's someone at ACE who's done this for state schools, national schools, and international schools. I know we can do this. Your syllabus is very defined. All you have to do is find a problem within that and give the children an opportunity to research. You pre-assign teams. You have to be smart as a teacher. I'm not going to give all my verbal, efficient kids in one group. I'm going to throw it up to make sure, I have kids who are happy-go-lucky, who will need a push. So your group dynamics is important. And yes, it's interdisciplinary. Next slide, please. So, you know what? Fatema is lovely in this. She's giving you all 4 topics for you to go ahead and implement immediately. Challenge your teachers with this. Look at the first topic that I've put out, grade 1 and 2. If you read the kind of questions that I've posed, and if you see the gradation of how I've moved from grade 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you will see the complexity of problem solving. Our wants and needs the same. And I've done it. I've done it in my school. So I had a footballer who came to me and said, Fatima, ma'am, you know what? My football shoes are essential. They're not going to be a want. It is a need, like oxygen. How can I play football if I don't wear my football shoes? That's something that you need to build on at that age. Please don't get them to think beyond at grade 7 and 8. Have a look at the grade 3 and 4 topics. Education. This is that age where kids cannot understand why they are in school. Quite frankly, I've gone through that. Really? Is education important? So link it to economic progress. By the way, it's interdisciplinary. Grade 4. I have mapped this to your national and international curriculum. This is part of what you all are teaching in your classrooms. You've just not thought about creating a problem or asking a question. That's the difference. The last one, very relevant one, media trials can bring justice. We all know what we are thinking at the moment. Next slide, please. Okay, as we go higher into it.
May I add one thing, Fatima ma'am? I think the last question, that is such an important one, not only for students, but for adults as well. Because it's very important to understand who should hold the trial. Is it the judiciary or it's the media? And in what way? Is it reliable? Is it ethical? And then it also connects with how to identify fake news. I think that is also another project that can be used for higher grades, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, because they are being influenced by the news very, very badly. So that is another project, because this is a long time thing. It's not just today that you come across some fake news, but throughout your life, you have to grapple with, discerning between what is right, what input you get is always right or not. So thank you for those topics. I simply loved it. Also wanted to ask you, we have now got the link of that video. Let us know when to play it.
Okay. So I think it's, this is the last slide. So you know what I thought, I'll deep dive into how to handle a topic.
Okay.
Jaya,
So
Thank
we
you
can
so much.
do towards the end. We can do that towards the end, ma'am.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. We are enjoying. I'm loving whatever you are saying, and I'm sure others too are. Thank you, ma'am. Please carry on.
So, this one, like Jayaman mentioned, we're going through extraordinary times. Our children are exposed to information that is way beyond perhaps our comprehension level, and I'm going to be admitting to that as well. One of the things that bothers me, and I have a 15-year-old at home. What role does censorship play in society? Now, you're going to think, "Arey yaar, this doesn't fit in history, geography, my math, all of that. Why am I doing this?" I hope you teachers can come together to think about it. This can actually lead extensively to your English class, your persuasive speech, your narrative, all that will come about. It can actually lead also to your history text, because you can deep dive into why censorship originated. It can actually lead to life skills, financial management. Is it necessary? Should we have governance? What is governance? We don't teach all those life skills in our schools. So think about how censorship. I've just put out the topic to say how you can break it up. So remember, it'll be very overwhelming. Should I think of the most profound thing? Because they have to find a solution to every problem. Project-based learning does not talk about that only. It talks about getting attention to something that you appeal to, that appeals to what is happening around you. Start slowly, which is why I said try one unit. Try it for 6 weeks. Don't do it for the whole year. Try one unit. See how your children come. You know what? When I did that for the first time 10 years ago, I was so impressed that the kid who never spoke in class ever, actually in grade 5, had an opinion, only because he was a kid who read. Because of his research skills, he knew what the topic was about. You might be able to unearth those children who, who like me don't talk too much. So a very important point to be thought about. Next slide, please. Yeah, that's it. I'm done. Jaya, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. I think there was a lot of takeaways, and it is high time that we start aligning our lessons and the planning on the lines of project-based learning. As you rightly said, first of all, one must have that level of critical thinking to identify the right problems. And there is no dearth of problems, I'm sure. And then comes the creativity of associating it with your subject, your particular subject, as per the age of the child, and not only limiting to your subject, but making it multidisciplinary and transdisciplinary. And the kind of options, the examples that you have given, they seem to be all that: multidisciplinary, transdisciplinary, age appropriate. And now it's the job of the teachers and the school leaders to think more on these and see how these skills can be incorporated. Fatima ma'am, thank you for making it so practical, for giving an overview of the elements and then with examples showing how it is different from just a project and how it is relevant to the real world problems. And trusting that the children are able to find solutions. And I truly believe children are able to bring those innovative solutions which our conditioned minds are not able to bring out. Am I right, Fatima ma'am?
Thank you so much. Thank
Thanks
you.
to you.
Please share the
Thanks.
presentation, ma'am, with
Yes.
everyone, because I think if they could take this forward, it'll be wonderful for the children.
So yes, you have always been very generous. I've seen ma'am believes in sharing of knowledge and this is what makes me appreciate her so much. We will definitely share the presentation with all our participants, and I now ask Mr. Amit to kindly run the video that ma'am wanted to play in the beginning. That's a wonderful video, ma'am.
It just set the context very beautifully, but maybe towards the end.
But then that does not diminish its importance. We were able to see that to bring in these many skills, not just the skills and the technology, but so many soft skills and the other skills which are not given that much of importance as of now, are the actual ones which are needed, and PBL will help us in bringing this. Because the world, the way it is changing, we cannot continue with the same methods and the processes in our schools. So thank you. As much as it sets the context, it also sums up the importance of the topic of project-based learning.
Thank you.
So if you wish to take up any questions or feedback, may I ask the participants to unmute in case they have some questions or feedback. So dear friends, if you have anything to express, maybe we can give a chance to one or two people. Kindly unmute yourselves and share your thoughts. It can be a question and it need not necessarily be a question. So Mr. Amit is asking, how can this be done with sports? Like sports integrated?
Yeah, sure. We've actually developed a product or a service, if I can, but it doesn't matter. You can do this in your classrooms as well. Look at sport, from the context of math, science, language. You can look at a cricket pitch. You can look at a math situation. You can actually let's go. Yesterday we're from Mumbai, right? Mumbai lost yesterday. Mumbai Indians.
Yes.
Why did Mumbai Indians lose? On paper, great team. They played in Abu Dhabi. What changed? It could be the match situation. It could be the pitch. It could be the angles that the bowlers were bowling. Bring in that element. So project-based learning is not only about, solving a bigger problem. It could be about, hey, listen, what could we have done differently? Looking at the match situation, what can we come up with in terms of a solution? So I think I missed that. And Amit, brilliant question, because I think that's important. It's not always about creation. It's about what can you do to solve the problem. Hindsight is also great. Ben Stoke, of course, thank you. Your marketing head has pointed out. Okay, Ben was an extraordinary innings on that day. But think about what the bowlers did. What angles were they bowling to Ben Stokes? So think about how we can draw the children in with that. So guys, when I talk about project-based learning, I don't mean problem solving in everything. It could also be hindsight. You can take a situation, you could take a math situation and saying, what can we do differently? And that's what the Indian cricket team does. It talks about saying, oh, okay, oh, maybe the field placements were different. Maybe the batting order was different. Maybe the bowling combination, didn't work. What we're trying to, guys, think about it. We're trying to get on critical thinking, ability to make a decision.
Yes, that's absolutely true. So analyzing the reasons for failure also is kind of solving a problem, like how it could be prevented from being repetitive. If the child is suppose a part of that team, how would the child need to think critically in that situation in order to avoid that happening again? Anybody else who would like to ask a question or share some thoughts?
So Jaya,
Yes.
I often ask Rajiv, he's bowled the last over in a lot of the crucial ties with India. So
Right.
which ball do you bowl? Now that again is problem-based learning. Your ability to understand which ball you should bowl at that point. Now this can't happen overnight. It's a precursor, right? So you have to have time
Yes.
exposed to that. That's what we're talking about.
Wonderful. As you have mentioned, Ajit sir, Amit sir says he loved his bowling and still loves him. Let me tell you that he is not the only one there. I'm with him, and I'm sure a whole lot of Indians and people abroad are a fan. I remember in college, he was one of the reasons that I had started taking interest in cricket. So please convey my, love and regards to Ajit sir.
Thank you, Jaya. Thank you.
So would anyone else also have some question or thoughts to share? You can also share, what you are taking away from this session today.
Jaya, can what I hadn't put out in the presentation is a number of sites that they can go to.
Sure.
So,
Sure, ma'am.
Utopia is a very important site.
Could you repeat? We couldn't hear you.
Utopia.
Okay.
Utopia is a brilliant site for project-based learning. Jaya?
Yes. Yes.
Also, there's an American company by the name of project-based learning. Jaya, it's a storehouse
Yes,
of
yes.
information.
Yes, yes. Project-based learning. Hello? Yes, ma'am. I've mentioned one more, PBL Works, because that also has some very good material and resources for teachers.
And I'd be happy, Jaya, if anyone wants to, because we do this, right? So if anyone wants to get a bit of direction, I'd be happy to help.
We will surely reach out to you, ma'am. And our teachers might look for your guidance in the future too, when they plan for their project-based learning. So I won't be taking any more time of yours. You have already been very, very kind and generous. Thank you so much for being the 33rd Aadharshila at Aadharshila Talks at RRIS. You have gone down in history with RRIS family, and you are now a forever eternal member, lifelong member of Ratna International School family. It was wonderful learning from you and listening to you. Wishing all the best to ACE and all your endeavors that you keep on mesmerizing us with. Every now and then there is something new coming from Fatema ma'am. So congratulations. All the best to you, ma'am. Thank you so much.